I have genuine concerns about the position in which members of the force now find themselves. And I think the force was very ill-served by the conduct of the GRA and the AGSI in stepping outside the talks. I think they had a very important contribution to make to shaping the outcome of those talks, to address specific issues that relate to members of An Garda Síochána, with which I am personally familiar. Unfortunately, the GRA and the AGSI took a different course. The words of the GRA, and I quote, "The GRA executive rejected all such proposals, as all the proposals of any description, that included a cut in Garda pay and decided we would not participate in any process to propose such cuts." They could have been involved in the talks. They chose not to be involved. The case of AGSI, their executive said, removing AGSI from the talks was in the best interests of members to protect core pay, which includes allowances. It wasn't. It was in the best interests of the members that they engaged. And I think members of the Garda Force should ask themselves, if the representative bodies of the Defence Forces engaged, if the representative bodies of the Prison Officers Association engaged, if those engagements achieved outcomes, which they did, which sought to shape the architecture of what's been agreed, why did their representative bodies not make that contribution? Indeed, it's only in later days that the suggestion has been put forward that they were excluded from the talks. I want to say, in direct response to what the Deputy has risen, that both the Commissioner and I are always available to engage in constructive and meaningful discussions on matters affecting members of An Garda Síochána. However, it must be clearly understood that any such engagement, the context of these proposals, most certainly cannot be interpreted as representing an attempt to reopen negotiations on the proposals which emerged from the talks in Lansdowne House, from which AGSI and the GRA withdrew. These proposals stand as they are, but I totally acknowledge and recognise the important role played by members of the Garda Force in our society. It's especially praiseworthy that they've shown the dedication and commitment in these most difficult times, and I know that at an individual level, in the context of pay reductions, that members of the force are finding this difficult. And I understand those difficulties. But similar difficulties are being experienced by people right across the public service. They're unfortunately a consequence of the enormous financial difficulties with which the state is confronted.
Thank you.
I say to the Deputy, I'm conscious that there's always been some degree of tension between whoever is the Minister for Justice of the day and the Garda representative bodies. Personally, I don't take that aspect of matters seriously. What I do take seriously is that the Gardaí do their work well, which they do, and that I do what I can to be supportive of them in the work they do. That's why I was so disappointed that the two Garda organisations withdrew from the talks process, failed to engage constructively, failed to set out, through the aegis of the Labour Relations Commission and its good offices, issues of concern, genuine concern to members of the force, failed to do what was necessary to moderate the outcome of negotiations so as to shape them in a manner that may have addressed issues that they believe should have been addressed. Now, I can only say to the Deputy, I wasn't the person during the course of the talks who said anything untoward or to cause upset or distress. Constantly, I urged that both bodies engage in the talks. I did not respond to some personal abuse and criticism that was voiced of me by members of both associations during the weeks leading into the outcome of the talks. And the Deputy can check the record. And all he will discover is that I engaged in a number of broadcasts and made a number of statements in the print media urging that they engage, that they participate, that they address their concerns of their members. And it's a bitter disappointment to me that they chose not to do so. I think it's disingenuous that both bodies are making now a presentation to their members to mislead them into believing that they couldn't have participated, because that's far from the truth. But I'll repeat again what I said earlier, which is I am always available to meet with the representative bodies to discuss issues of concern to them. But what I cannot do in any such discussions is reopen in any shape or form the outcome of the negotiations that were completed in Lansdowne House, in which a number of trade unions and representative bodies fully participated, and which have produced an outcome that now must be voted on by the members of different unions and by those that those bodies represent. But if it comes, will I meet with bodies? Of course I will. I met with AGSI in the late autumn, is my recollection. recollection. I don't have the date on my file. I know that had the GRA been willing to meet with me, I'd have met them in the autumn period as well. So that's all I can do. But my door is always open to meet and discuss issues. But my door, in the context of those coming through the door, I cannot renegotiate the outcome of the talks.